All right, now we talk to the other side of the aisle, Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia. Welcome back to Fox News Sunday, Senator.
Great to be with you, Shannon. Thanks.
Okay, I want to start in the same place we did with Senator Barrasso with Secretary Yellen. She's coming back. And listen, while she was in China and there to ease tensions, they fired up aircraft and warships in the Taiwan Strait. This comes on the visit by Secretary Blinken that a lot of people think there haven't been any deliverables from these other than us getting lectured by the Chinese Communist government. Here's what former Secretary Mike Pompeo said a couple days ago.
They'll continue to steal our stuff, our intellectual property, and they'll continue to conduct espionage operations like the balloon all across America. These are things that I think the administration should take much more seriously, and sending emissaries to bow down to the Chinese Communist Party in the way that it appears that we are to gain almost nothing seems like a big foreign policy mistake.
All right, skeptics say China is lecturing us privately. They're embarrassing us publicly. We aren't getting anything from these meetings. Our latest Fox News poll shows that 57% of Americans disapprove of how this president is handling foreign policy. What are we getting from this relationship with China? How would you manage it differently if you would?
Well, Shannon, you know, I'm not sure we're getting a lot, but you have to communicate. The two most powerful nations in the world have to communicate to avoid unnecessary escalation and risk. Nobody in the United States wants to see an unnecessary military skirmish with China, and that's why communication is so important. Communication doesn't guarantee a positive outcome, but the absence of communication does. But here's what we're doing. Even if China isn't giving, we're building a stronger Taiwan, helping it defend itself to unprecedented levels. We are forging a partnership with Australia and the UK in the Indo-Pacific region to provide more democracy, support for democracies in the region. I'm going to be in Norfolk at the naval base this week with officials from those nations to talk about what we can do to strengthen our combined defense in the region. And what we've showed with NATO is that our alliances are second to none. We're strengthening alliances, and that's very obvious to the Chinese. They're very worried about it, and we're strengthening Taiwan, and that's what we need to do.
Yeah, and you mentioned NATO. Obviously, the president's headed there. This issue of Sweden's admission has been held up. I mean, frankly, Turkey and Hungary and a couple of your Senate counterparts are blocking various arms sales to them. You've weighed in on that, saying, too, you think Sweden should be admitted. How far should the U.S. go in getting tough with Turkey, with Hungary? Why is it important for you that Sweden's admitted?
We need to do this. And Shannon, remember Secretary Esper, President Trump's final Secretary of Defense, in a book said that President Trump's plan was to pull out of NATO if he got a second term. And he's running for president, and that would still be a live threat. But look what's happened with NATO since the war in Ukraine began. It has strengthened. It has shown that it can work together and has surprised Vladimir Putin. It's grown. Finland is in NATO, and President Biden will be there to celebrate their accession. I believe Sweden is going to be in very soon. It's hard to predict Erdogan's behavior. I viewed some of his opposition to Sweden as pre-presidential election campaign-style opposition. But I'm really glad that President Biden will have the chance to go directly to him at this NATO summit and to encourage quick access to Sweden. And Turkey has taken some positive steps recently. They've returned some prisoners to Ukraine that made the Kremlin very, very mad. They've shown that they want to help in this situation in Ukraine, and I think you're going to see a positive decision on Sweden soon.
I'm going to ask you, too, about the decision about whether Ukraine should be admitted to NATO. A little bit more from that foreign policy piece I read earlier. They say admitting Ukraine to NATO would raise the prospect of a grim choice between a war with Russia and the devastating consequences involved, or backing down and devaluing NATO's security guarantee across the entire alliance. Is it in the U.S. interest? Is it in NATO's interest to admit Ukraine?
Well, I kind of agree with my colleague, Senator Barrasso, on this. The focus right now should be helping Ukraine win this war. That should be the focus. And we needn't complicate it with other matters. Russia's narrative is the West hates us. That's what they're trying to tell their citizens, to lie and cover up the fact that they've engaged in this illegal invasion of a sovereign nation. And Ukraine coming into NATO right now would sort of further the false Russian narrative. This is a war to protect Ukrainian sovereignty against an illegal invasion committed by a dictator who's committing one human rights abuse after the next. Let's focus on helping Ukraine win this war, and then we can talk about matters like NATO accession and other important matters about Ukrainian alliance with Western democracies.
The president has said part of helping them now is going to be sending these cluster munitions that you have seen the backlash. A lot of folks out there not happy about this, including many of our allies. A couple of your Senate colleagues, one former, one current, both Democrats, write about this. They think it's a terrible idea. They say sending cluster munitions to Ukraine would not only reverse decades of U.S. policy and practice, it would also kill more civilians and exacerbate the very problem we're seeking to address when we provide millions of dollars for ordnance clearance, talking about those duds that are left later that may later activate. Where are you on this? Because a lot of our allies, including 2/3 of NATO, don't want us to do this.
Yeah, and Shannon, look, I share this concern. There is an international convention against use of these cluster munitions that dates back to 2008, and the reason the prohibition was put in place, as you have described, is that these are kinds of munitions that can lead to some downstream risk to civilians. Now, let's acknowledge we wouldn't even be here if it weren't for the fact that Russia is indiscriminately using cluster munitions to target Ukrainian civilians. That's obviously not what Ukraine is going to do. They're not going to use these munitions against Russian civilians. And rather than maximizing harm to Ukrainian civilians, they've given us a variety of assurances that they're going to do this in a way that will focus on Russian military, but minimize risk to their own people. I would still say, though, I have some real qualms about it. If there's an international prohibition and the U.S. says, but here's a good reason to do something different, it could give a green light to other nations to do something different as well. So it causes me some concern, but I do appreciate that the Biden administration has really grappled with the risks and reached agreements with the Ukrainian military about using these munitions in a way to dislodge Russian military while minimizing risk to Ukrainian civilians.
Few points of agreement between you and your Republican counterpart this morning on Fox News Sunday. So, Senator, thank you for coming for the conversation.
Glad to be with you, Shannon.